Well, hello there, everybody. I haven't done a live stream in a while. I thought, well, because I got so much crap uh, in this pickup that I decided I'll just go live, show it off, talk. If other people pop on, we can have a little chickadee chat, and just kind of hang out and just kind of see where things go. I don't have to expect not a big turnout at Sunday afternoon or early evening, and uh, you know, probably not gonna be a prime time for the people, the people. But I just want to do this because I thought this was something crazy, and so I came home from my son's baseball tournament today, and I'm sitting there just kind of relaxing, contemplating what I'm going to do for the day, and I looked at Facebook. I looked at Facebook Marketplace, and I always do. I have like a handful of searches I always search every day, or maybe every other day, or maybe sometimes even a couple times a day if I don't have much going on. Just to say, you never know what you might find, and this is a perfect example of you just being persistent worked out. So this person list about 15 minutes. Hey, what's up, Adam? About 15 minutes after they posted, I happened to come right behind it and see they had said free Blu-rays and DVDs pick up porch pickup only, first come first serve. And I was like, So I sent them a message and go, I'm interested. And you mean free? Because a lot of times people will post, if you know Facebook Marketplace, they'll put free, but then they want money, which is fine, but it's not clear. That is not clear in their description. Hey, what up, Reese? And so, sometimes you have to double check because I'll post stuff like baseball card monster boxes of, I don't want, or football, basketball that I've been trying to get rid of over, the years, including now. And I'll put in $50, $60, $40, $20. And the person's like, well, how much do you want? And I'm like, it's in the description, dude. I want 25, I want 30, whatever. So I'm always confused. Or if I put $100, like, how much you want? I'm like, it says $100. A lot of times people just put free, or they'll just put some random number in there, and then you have to like figure out what that means. So that being said, it said free first time pickup, and I was like, okay, I'm interested. And the person was like, somebody got in right before you. You'll be the second one in line if they bail out. And I was like, well, hey, I'm ready to go right now. So if they bail or can't pick it up, let me know. I'll be out the door ASAP because it looked like it was a nice stack or two of DVDs. And I was like, okay. Hey, what up, Doug? Yeah, and I mean that's exactly. But the thing is, I always put but in Facebook Marketplace, like a lot of times you can put the amount of money that you want in there, and so that's my point. Is if you put it in there, like I have a corded lawnmower that I put in there today or a couple of days ago with the cord, 80-foot cord for like $150. I start out high and then I'll work my way down, and then I don't want to give it away, of course, but I picked one up. It doesn't work for me, so I'm gonna sell it. I didn't keep the receipt, so I'm not gonna take it back. I only used it one time, and it was a bust. So, anyways, with that being said, you put the price in there. It's pretty straightforward. But a lot of times people put free, and then it's not. So, anyways, I told the lady like, hey, I'm interested. I can head out the door right now. She said I was behind one person beat me to it. I was like, oh man, that sucks because it really was free, and I was like, wow, that's a great deal. Because just a handful of DVDs I could see, what seemed to be like okay. And so I was like, all right. So I said, just have your people call my people, kind of like keep it light and friendly. And then 5 minutes later, she goes, well, that person backed out. They said, I can't come and get it. I want them gone today. You're up. And I was like, I'm on my way. It's about 20 minutes away from my house. I went past Carl Erskine Elementary School in beautiful Anderson, Indiana, and drove up the driveway, grabbed the DVDs. I couldn't believe it. Just sitting there in a couple bags, waiting for me to pick up. Super easy transaction. It really was free. That's one of the best, if not the best deal I think I've ever came across when it comes to just something free. You just drive up and just pick it up and throw it in your car and you're on your way. So I'm going to show you what I picked up. It's a lot, so that's why I'm doing a live stream, is because it's too much to do in like a 3 or 4 part video. Most people don't care. So this way I can have some chit chat with you all, some back and forth. If people want to talk, we could talk movies, we could talk whatever, but there's no like rhyme or reason for the live stream. So other than just show what I picked up for free. So everything you're going to see, I spent literally $0 on. So with that being said, some of it's not. I mean, nothing's crazy. I should say nothing is like blowing your panties off if you wear panties. Crazy, but it's still pretty. It's still cool because what I'm gonna probably end up doing is again keeping a handful for myself because I am a collector, and then I'll probably sell the rest of it on eBay, or I might do a lot myself and sell it on Facebook Marketplace for like $10, and I'll sell like 10 or 15 movies I don't want. And the conditions vary, so I have a stack I'm going to show real quick that are the conditions are questionable. I'll probably throw them in while I'm working, like from the rest of the week, and see if they skip or not. If they don't skip, I'll sell them the next week. If they skip and they're messed up, I'm just going to throw them in the garbage because it ain't worth selling a DVD for $2 or $3 on eBay and then find out it doesn't work, and then I just lose money. Now I'm in the hole, so that's stupid. So I'll play it by ear, throw it in, have it playing in the background while I work, and then see if it skips or not, if it's in bad shape. Because sometimes it looks like it could be a coaster. It could have skid across a parking lot, and it still plays fine. But you have to clearly describe it in the description. Hey, what's up, Falsey? Free is my favorite. I say a favorite F word. That's true. That's true. So first up, I picked the first grouping is Xbox rentals that didn't make it back to Xbox. I'm sorry, Redbox. I think it's an Xbox. Redbox. So these were Redbox rentals that didn't make it back into Redbox. First up is Horrible Bosses 2, Electric Boogaloo. Next up is Paranormal Activity 4. Next one is The Loft. Never heard of The Loft. I'm going to just go through these kind of quickly. Hangover Part 3. Divergent, movie only. Let's see. Catwoman. This is probably worth just throwing the garbage immediately because this was a dumpster fire of a movie. I only saw bits and pieces of it. It was god awful. Unfinished Business. Okay, so that's all the Redbox movies. Again, nothing at all exciting, but again, everything's free, so I'm definitely not complaining when it comes to that. Next up was a movie gallery rental when they read of the Wolfman, but there's a couple things with this. First, it is a recreated slipcover paper, like the insert. They tore it up, I guess. So they copied and they printed one off of just regular paper and stuck it in here. So this is not the original cover. And then it's missing its DVD. So this is only a Blu-ray. So again, I already have this. I have the double disc edition with the slip cover. So this will be a more than likely just a sell on eBay. Next one up. This one was missing the plastic cover. I don't know if I've ever seen the extended cut. I don't know if it makes any difference, but this is Liam Neeson and Taken extended cut. But as you can see, or maybe you can or can't see, it's the plastic's not there. Like the plastic was ripped off. So like they left some tape, some spots to like leave try to leave it on there. So whatever. I'm just showing you the kind of ones I have no interest in first, and we'll find out. Next up is a rental from I believe Blockbuster. Sherlock Holmes. This is just a DVD. But then the dude wrote his name on it. I've never understood that people writing their names on their DVD. I mean, like, are you that scared somebody's gonna steal your DVD out of your own house? Like, I'm gonna steal your DVD, so I'm going to write my name all over. I never understood that. I never got that as a thing that you do. First, it kind of makes your movie collection look goofy if you have your name written all over everything. And second is, if somebody comes and breaks into your house, even when DVDs were pretty popular, why would they steal your DVD collection? They probably gonna steal money, jewelry, your DVD player, your TV, your computer, your jewelry. I don't know, they're gonna steal some random DVDs, even in the height of the DVD era. So who knows? Next up, the unrated edition of The Ring 2. I saw this in the theater. I saw Ring 1 and 2, I think, in the theater. The first Ring would scare the bejesus out of me when I was a kid. Oh, no, when I was a kid, I was like in my 20s. But it was like a PG-13 movie. But, man, it was pretty intense for a PG-13 movie. And, but, yeah, the second one, man, they kind of, jumped the shark with the first one. The next one, and I will say a lot of these are things I have no interest in. but it is what it is. I'm going to show it off. The next one is Reese's favorite movie, The House of Bunny. The House, oh, not the House of Bunny, The House Bunny, with Anna Faris with the slipcovers. So that's cool. Tom Hanks' son's in this. Haven't seen it's probably not something I'm going to bother watching, but I know that's Reese's favorite movie. Next up is M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, The Village. I saw this in the theater. It has Bryce Howard Davis in it, or Bryce Dallas Howard, and I think I switched up her name. Joaquin Phoenix, Adrian Brody, William Hurt, Sigourney Weaver, Brendan Gleeson. It's a pretty all-star cast. I feel like at this point, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm a spoiler alert. By the time you've seen a couple of M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's movies, you know that there's a twist at the end of all his movies. I think almost all his movies, and he's kind of very Hitchcockian. And in this one in particular was that it's a kind of like you think you're in like 1800s maybe, I don't know, like early 1800s, I believe, early to mid 1800s, I want to say. And you think this is like there is monsters that are keep around this village that you can't escape the village, and they have like, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 people, maybe more, live in this village, and it's always like the elders of the community of the village that try to encourage the young people not to try to leave, because if they leave, the monster can kill them, or monsters will kill them, and they have like this like like I guess shaky truce with the monsters. Then they stay in the village. They'll live, but if they try to leave, they will be killed. I figured, yeah, I mean, definitely your favorite. You watch it every Easter. I mean, it makes total sense. The House Bunnies, for sure. Well, you find out that eventually some of the youngsters, when I say youngsters, we're talking about like young adults, are like, there's no way. We don't know what happens beyond this circle that we're supposed to be in, where the village is. So they finally are brave enough to escape. And then they realize that their mothers and fathers and all these adults have for decades have hidden the woods, like in, I don't know, Oregon or Washington State or somewhere out deep in the woods, and it's like currently like 2005, but they think it's like 40 or something. I can't remember what year it's supposed to be. I don't know, does it say what year it's supposed to be? It doesn't really say the year. But they are dressed and act like it's in the mid 1800s to early 1800s, I think. And they find out, like, they like run through the woods because they're being chased by this monster, and then they end up like falling down a hill or something. They end up on a bunch of asphalt, and they're like, of course, freaking out, like, what is this? And it's just a road. It's a highway road, and they start seeing cars, and they're like, what? I mean, that's like completely foreign to them. And then, of course, the truth starts to unravel. And they realize that they have been, lied to for their entire lives, and that the adults have done essentially an experiment to get out of the world because they no longer want to be a part of the world, and have lied to their kids and, whoever, the people who live there, that their reality actually is not a reality. It's all based on a lie. So again, then of course they try to get away, and the adults are willing to kill the kids to keep the secret, and it's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Next up, The Ring. The original Ring. I cannot tell you how much this PG-13 movie scared the bejesus out of me. I know I mentioned it earlier. But if you had never seen this movie, you watch it for the first time, for a PG-13 movie, it is pretty scary. And I remember when I watched it for the first time, it threw me such a curveball. I was like so shocked at what I was watching. I was like, what in the heck? So, I mean, at this point, again, the short version is that if you watch a VHS tape of all these creepy and like non-connected images, it's like a minute long or whatever, you will die, I think, in 7 days. I think that's how it works. And so the only way not to die is you have somebody else watch the tape. Then the ghost jumps to the ghost, or the whatever, the evil spirit jumps to the next person, because it follows the tape. So whoever watches the tape last. And but you have to have somebody else watch the tape, and then of course when you know it's killing people, then you don't want to pass along, or do you, to somebody else because you know they're gonna die. So anyways, it's a very scary movie. I thought it was very well done early on. Had never seen anything like this at the time. It is based off of a Japanese movie, or maybe a manga called Ringu. Again, that's just ring in Japanese, Ringu. And it was equally. In Japan, I thought it was just more creepy because it was just, I don't know. The American version was pretty scary. The Japanese version was way more based on the entire like uneasiness of the film. The entire time it felt uneasy. The American version had, certain times it felt really uneasy and creepy, and it was more a shock value, whereas the Japanese one just had a thread of, foreboding uneasiness the entire time. Next up is the Butterfly Effect collection. I think I've seen the first one, never saw the second one. I never was impressed. I'm not an Ashton Kutcher fan. I never thought of him as a very interesting bloke. If I understand correctly, the Butterfly Effect. I saw the first one. Is that you can change something, one little thing that affects everything after that, or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it was. And so you have to go back and try to keep changing things. But every time you change something, it affects something else, and then you have to try to change that because you might like save your mom or your girlfriend or the milkman, but by saving them, it opens up another Pandora's box that they're now saved, but somebody else is dying or whatever. So whatever. Next up is Untraceable with Diane Lane. Never seen it. It was like some kind of cop FBI type movie. Don't know nothing about it. We'll see. Don't know anything about it. This is a rental from, I also believe, Blockbuster. Back then, The Eye with Jessica Alba. She hasn't made movies in a couple of years. I think she says she is done making movies, at least for the time being. She's more focused on being a mom. You won't believe her eyes. So if it's Jessica Alba, probably gonna be a crap movie. Next up is a remake of a 80s, early 80s, The Hitcher with Sean Bean. I've actually heard this is actually pretty good. I remember the from the 1980s Hitcher, and I think it had Rutger Hauer in it, and I remember thinking that was okay, but it was no masterpiece. So aside from it being full screen, which I hate full screen movies, I almost refuse to watch them unless it's the only way to watch the movie. So yeah, no Hitcher. So who knows? I might give it a little peeky peek. Red Eye. This is a Wes Craven. I think this might be one of Wes Craven's last movies. It has Rachel McAdams in it. You have also Cillian Murphy, Brian Cox is in here. But again, this is, I believe, takes place in a airplane. A killer of a thriller. I think it's on an airplane, and I can't remember everything, but basically Cillian Murphy's a bad guy, and he's gonna try to kill Rachel McAdams for what reason I don't remember. Apparently, it says something about chilling assassination plot. So there you have it. So I remember watching this in the theaters and thinking it was all right. I definitely feel like Wes Craven was just doing it for the money. It didn't feel like a Wes Craven movie. It felt like more like a Wes Craven money grab. But it's whatever. Next up is Jennifer Carpenter's Louisville's own Quarantine. So this is based off, I believe, a Spanish, like from Spain or Portuguese movie. The original, this is Quarantine. I think that one, the original was called Rec, like REC, like record, because it's done in camera. Everything's in camera. It's kind of like Cloverfield, but this is like Quarantine. This is kind of like a infection movie, like a zombie infection movie. If you get bit or whatever, you become essentially a zombie. Perfect for this time of the year, or the past year and a half. Well, not a year and a half, but it feels like it's going towards that direction. So anyways, so Quarantine, Jennifer Carpenter from Louisville, fantastic. She was also in a movie I'm getting ready to show next. She's also played in the movie Dexter. She was Deborah, Dexter's sister. slash love interest, and Dexter. So there you go. It's actually a pretty good movie. Again, pretty intense, and it kind of shows you a little bit. Unfortunately, this movie came out in probably 2000 and I don't even know. Let's see if it says on here 2005 maybe 2009. It says so it came out in 2009, and they were showing the police and like government officials, city officials, quarantining people into a building, not letting them leave because they were infected. Just saying. Interesting. Art imitating life, maybe. Next up, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I believe this is Jennifer Carpenter's first movie. Again, Louisville native. She is possessed by a demon. Laura Linney's in here and Tom Wilkinson. It's a good movie. It's pretty intense. Anything involving demons and religion and exorcism. I mean, it's usually not for the faint of heart. If you're a believer, it feels very real in a lot of ways. Just like a movie, like a home invasion movie, to me seems very intense because it's like based in reality. You know, exorcism. Even though I'm not saying like there's exorcism of people on a regular basis, but I do believe that you can't have good without evil. You can't have angels without demons. So there's all these kind of things that kind of like make me think like it's not the realm of non-reality. I think this is more realistic than a hockey masked man running around in the woods killing teenagers. That's for sure. Next up is a remake from I believe the early 1970s movie called Poseidon. This is an all-star cast. There's tons of actors in this movie. Again, the original from the 1970s also had an all-star cast of like the who's who of 70s cinema back then. But here's a couple of people in the movie. You have Kurt Russell, Josh Lucas, Richard Dreyfuss, Emily Rossum. Let's see here. I guess those were some of the main ones. So anyways, again, it's kind of like Titanic-ish, I guess, kind of like Titanic, as you can see on here. It's pretty good. It feels like a pretty good like popcorn movie. And then lastly, for the movies that have been looked like they might be pretty damaged, the DVDs are pretty scratched up, and I'm more than likely, just like I said, might throw them on the old DVD player, see if they play. Last one for that is Just Married. Again, another Ashton Kutcher movie, which I don't care about. I do like Brittany Murphy. You know, she had passed away about, 10 years ago, maybe longer than that. At this point, I always thought she was really cute. I always thought she was really funny. She was in a couple different movies I really enjoyed. She was in a movie called Ramen Girl that was filmed in Japan, and she was learning how to make ramen. And then, that was actually a really good movie, I thought. She was in Sin City. I liked her in that. Clueless. She's in quite a few movies I enjoyed. And she was in a couple of other like comedy, love story type movies I always enjoyed. All right, next up. Now these two stacks, and I mean they're stacks, are stuff that I'm probably going to hold on to, maybe have in the collection, or we'll just see how they all shake out. The first one up is Inception. You have here with Leonardo DiCaprio, Ken Watanabe, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ellen Page, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Tom Berenger, and Michael Caine. This is with Christopher Nolan. This is a really good movie. It has a very, I feel like Doctor Strange took a little bit from this, with the buildings and roads and everything, like not being based in reality and like can be manipulated and kind of feels like otherworldly. It's a really interesting movie. Honestly, sometimes when you watch this is the kind of movie you can watch 2 or 3 times and feel like you don't completely understand everything you're seeing. It definitely feels that way. Next up is M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's The Crappening, as I like to call it, because it was probably, if not one of the crappiest movies I've ever seen. The trees kill people by whispering, essentially. It's like it was being what do you call it? Like echo warrior level of ridiculousness before being an echo warrior was a cool thing. Now you have all these kind of people who are like, the world's coming to an end within 10 years into the ozone layer and all this stuff. Well, M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong beat you all to it because with the crapping, the trees murder people. They whisper into making people lose their minds and then kill each other. So this was awful. I mean, there was nothing good about this movie. Literally, the trees kill people. Like they just whispered until you wanted to kill yourself or kill other people around you. That's definitely something I'm gonna probably get rid of. Now, this is a pretty cool one here. This is a 4-feature film, 2-disc set of Cry Wolf unrated, The Strangers unrated, which is a pretty intense movie I like. The Last House on the Left remake and The Return. I think that's Sarah Michelle Gellar in that. I've never seen that. The Last House on the Left remake I have seen. The original was really brutal. For 70s cinema, I think it came out like in 76. That's a hard watch. I mean, still today, it's a hard watch. Cry Wolf, I think I've seen. I think that was like a Australian movie, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. I can't remember. It may not be. John Bon Jovi's in it. It is. Jared Padalecki, Lindy Booth. Jared Padalecki? Wasn't he in Supernatural or was? So yeah. Stranger, super intense horror movie. That's a home invasion movie kind of thing that has Liv Tyler in it. Scary stuff. Next up is Russell Crowe and Renee Zellweger. And Cinderella Man is based off of, I don't know if it's a true story or what, off of, I think, a boxer in the maybe 20s or 30s, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like that time frame, and I could be completely wrong. Never seen it. I'm not the biggest Russell Crowe fan. I do like Paul Giamatti. He's also in. I think he probably. It's based on a true story. It said he's always plays a great character after Paul Giamatti, who his father Bart Giamatti was the commissioner of baseball back in the day. I think he's the one who kicked out Pete Rose, like banned Pete Rose forever. And it says one man's extraordinary fight to save the family he loved. Next up, a movie that was also a remake in like 2005. I can't watch a movie like this anymore. It's just way too intense. I think as I've gotten older, I don't know how you all feel. Maybe this is something you all have experienced. Maybe not for the people who are horror movie fans. As I've gotten older, I don't have the stomach that I used to watch horror movies, and the ones that are more gruesome and gory and more intense, I can't enjoy anymore. I can't watch because I just don't have it in me to watch it. I don't know if it's because I don't know if my sensibilities have just changed, I guess. And a movie that I watched in the theater, I thought it was so brutal and so intense, and I enjoyed it. Now I'm just like, I already know I don't want to watch it again. Is the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. This is the unrated version. This is a really hard movie to watch. The original is it has a couple intense scenes, don't get me wrong, but this one blows that one away. I mean, like, we're talking about some seriously intense scenes and just imagery. I can't watch it anymore. Like the things that happen to the people, it's just something I can't watch anymore. And I mean, even when I used to watch it before, I can't say I enjoyed it. I felt the overall feeling was intense, and I enjoyed that intense feeling. But now it's just too much. I just can't enjoy it. Like, I like a horror movie. I still like being scared. I still like the feeling of being scared. I don't like the feeling of like intense gore, dread, like just gruesomeness for gruesomeness sake. Like, they always used to call it like torture porn, that kind of stuff. I don't have any interest in that anymore. Like, so this kind of movie would go into more than likely I'm just selling on eBay because I can't deal. This is I don't have it in me anymore to watch. Next up, but this is the House on Haunted Hill, which is a remake from the 50s. I think it was a William Castle original movie, and I want to say maybe Vincent Price was the original I don't know if it was a doctor or like what he was, like the head of the house or whatever. The little old lady had quite the taste of. So I know, no kidding, Joe. You're exactly right. It's all over the place. I mean, it just keeps getting like all over. It goes from love story to comedy to drama to horror to action. It's everywhere. So House on Hill is really a good movie. Again, this is a ghost movie, a ghost house movie. There are some pretty intense scenes, but again, it's based in way more feels like fantasy. You have to survive the house for one full night, and if you don't die, because they all think it's like a kind of like a joke, you like win money or the house becomes yours. Or I can't remember the premise of it, but it's like, oh yeah, you win $1 million. So you have quite a few people in here, like Chris Kattan, who actually is going to be doing a comedy show just down the road from me in about maybe an hour from my house next week or two. I might go get this and get autographed because there he is right there. And that's Chris Kattan from Saturday Night Live, Night at the Roxbury fame. And I might go take this and get an autograph because he had a few movies. And this actually, I like this role. He kind of plays like a Weasley, like, guy. But you have Chris Kattan's in here. Famke Janssen, she's awesome in this, super hot. You have Jeffrey Rush, Taye Diggs, Ali Larter, Bridget Wilson, Peter Gallagher. It's a really good movie. William Malone is the director, and I like William Malone. He's like a monster, what do you want to say? Like he was like he grew up in the 50s and 60s, so he was kind of like a universal monster kid, like just like a he just had a love for cinema from back then. So he was the director of this, and it's a great movie. I love this movie. Actually, it's really good. Taye Diggs is great in it. So yeah, it's a really, really good movie. I highly recommend this movie. If you've not seen it, even the Vincent Price, William Castle one from back in the 50s is awesome. I think it says 59. So yeah, there you go. So it came out in 59, the original. So this one is really good. I like it. It's pretty intense. Never seen this one before. Looks like a typical like chick flick, kind of like chick flick horror film, like thriller. The Roommate. It says murder can really ruin a friendship. It sounds like it. So this looks like a complete garbage, but again, it's free. This one I've heard is pretty good. Frozen. This is an Anchor Bay release. Shawn Ashmore, which is pretty funny because this movie is called Frozen. He plays Iceman in the X-Men movies from back in the aughts, the mid to late 2000s. He plays Iceman, but then he's also in a movie called Frozen. Not to be confused with the Disney Frozen with the ever popular song. Oh, hey, what up, Mark? Hey, Marky Mark, what up? Roommate's pretty good. Okay, well, there you go. I'll give it a shot. A movie that I'm not going to probably end up. I watched the original back in the day before you knew who the director was. And what up, Yanks fan? Man, dude, I have so many DVDs, Yanks fan, Blu-rays. I mean, we're talking about hundreds, maybe thousands. I have been selling off a lot of the stuff I don't want anymore, and like doubles or just things I'm not interested in anymore. So I have been selling a lot of that. So I don't have as much. So I'm probably not thousands. I'm probably like in the hundreds now. But I used to be I had one entire huge 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deep bookcase filled. I used to have another smaller bookshelf with 3 levels completely filled. I had one that was 4 levels completely filled. I had 2 racks that were probably about 3 feet filled, plus stuff out in my garage. And now I've still got them all, but I've got all the stuff out of my garage. So there's no more DVDs, Blu-rays in the garage anymore. It's just down to what's in the house. And I still go pick up lots. Like I went and bought, I did a pawn shop video last week, and I did like about 20 movies for like $19 or I don't know. It was like $1 a movie basically. So I still go pick them up. And then I do, like, I'm going to sell a bunch today on eBay this evening. And then I'll keep the ones I want and then make my money back and then some for the rest. Like last week, I sold a Captain America PS3 game for $81. Just sitting. I got the game years ago for like $1 or $2 at a flea market or a pawn shop or something for just a few bucks. I sold it for $81 last week. You know, I mean, there's stuff like that happens all the time. I mean, that's just one that's like one of the bigger ones recently. So I mean, there's all kinds of money to be had. You just got to kind of know what to get. And then when you like in this case, I got I don't know 60, 70 DVDs maybe. I have $0 invested. So as long as the movie sells for at least a couple bucks, I'm gonna make my money back, and then at least break even. And then the movies I keep, they're free. So I mean, that's how I look at it. So the next one up is the director. His name is Victor Salva, and he is a piece of trash child molester. Not even kidding. He really is. He was like went to jail for it. And so, anyways, if Jeepers Creepers, unfortunately, it was a fun movie, but the director, kind of like Roman Polanski, who was caught abusing a child and then escaped to France or whatever. Victor Salva got arrested for the same thing. He served however many years in jail, and then somehow he was able to get out and still make movies. And he's a complete garbage human. So that's definitely something that I will not be watching. Just like I don't watch Roman Polanski movies for that very reason. Hey, what up, Hitman? What up, Mike? The highest grossing, if I'm not mistaken, independent film ever created. It beat Halloween, the original 1978 Halloween by John Carpenter. The Blair Witch Project. This movie was made for I think they said $60,000 maybe, and I can't remember the amount. It ended up making like 60 million or something. I can't remember. If any of you all were around during the time this movie hit, was like 98, 99. This movie blew up, and everybody was talking about this movie. I remember watching it with my with Luca's mom in college. We a dog set for one of our professors, and it was a little Pomeranian that we had a dog sit for, and they had a bunch of VHS, because DVDs was barely a thing in the 90s. It just started becoming affordable for most regular people. And they had this on VHS, and they were, oh yeah, we just picked up this movie. I mean, these are like 60-year-old college professors. It's crazy. And they were like, we just picked up this new movie that everybody's talking about, the Blair Witch Project. You can watch it if you want. We haven't seen it yet. So we popped it in the VCR. And while the Pomeranian was literally abusing a Sonic the Hedgehog stuffed animal, like in the most inappropriate way you could think of, like going to town, and poor Sonic the Hedgehog doll eyes were like popping out the bottom of his head, like it was like going to town and making sounds. We were trying to watch this movie in the dark at night with the dog going to town on the poor stuffed animal. And I remember thinking, literally the entire movie was seriously ridiculous. There was a few scenes where it had some ambiance. It was a little bit creepy, but overall you're kind of what's the big deal? And the whole movie, the payoff's the end. And then the end is no big deal. If you've seen the ending, which is basically a witch facing the wall, and then turns around and the camera starts shaking and they scream, and then they drop the camera and run, and then they get attacked by the witch. That's it. And the camera's angled exactly where you can see the witch attacking the girl against the wall or whatever. That was it. That was the whole movie. You're like, what in the world? Is that seriously what the hype was all about? Some 22-year-old girl being attacked by a witch in a concrete building that's it was like a outhouse. Wow. Thank God we didn't spend any money on that one. Yeah, I forgot I forgot what they said. The reason why it's not considered, because it ended up being a Fox Studio release, the Star Wars movie, if I'm not mistaken. Because you would be right, but I think if I understand correctly, he ended up getting backing from Fox Studio at the time, and that disqualified it from being a independent movie, Star Wars. But I don't think, I don't know, Phantom Menace now is still backed by Lucas Studios. I mean, I see what you're saying, but let's be honest. George Lucas and Lucasfilm is not an independent company. At least not not now, not really ever, to be quite frank. A movie that was absolutely um, really a good movie. A lot of people never talk about this movie. It's two really good actors in the movie. It is The Ghost and the Darkness with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas. They're both kind of like trophy hunting in Africa, and there is a couple of lions that are going around eating people. Like it's like a real thing. Like they break into these like people's huts or little small houses and terrorize these villagers. And they're like man-eating lions. And this is supposedly, I don't know about this being based on a true story, but that's actually happens in Africa in some cases, that lions eat the humans in their villages because they have a taste, they get turned on by eating flesh somehow. Like they'll eat up human by accident, or maybe they do it on purpose. And they realize that's what they like, and they purposely stalk, humans in their villages, and they have to, kill these lions. And it's a really good movie. I really like it. It's a good kind of like mouse and I got what do you call mouse hunting? Like a mouse. What do you call lion and mouse? Like what do you call it? Like kind of like a hunt, mouse hunt kind of movie. But they're lions. There we go. It's like a mouse hunt, except they're lions, and they're big game hunters to try to. Well, at least Michael Douglas is, and they're trying to catch and kill these lions as they start killing humans. It's a really good movie. I don't know why more people don't talk about that movie. It's actually a heck of a movie. This is another movie I never saw. I'm not a huge fan of this actress. She's done maybe a few movies I kind of like. It's Gothika with Halle Berry in it. Halle Berry's in this. You have Robert Downey Jr., Charles S. Dunton, and let's see, John Carroll Lynch, Bernard Hill, Penelope Cruz. So again, I'm not for sure exactly what this is about, but apparently it's about a women's penitentiary and the psych ward. So something to do with her being psychotic, I'm assuming. So again, I think she did this movie like right after Monsters Ball because she like won an Academy Award. So she ended up doing like 2 or 3 movies that were like all like god awful, like this, Catwoman, and something else. And they kind of like and I think also James Bond. I'm not mistaken, but it like completely ruined her her golden little statue and her little like gold star that was rising up. Ended up taking a huge hit because she did some god awful crappy movies like this. So there you go. Next up is another movie from Dark Castle, William Castle from back. I think it's a William Castle movie from back in the 1950s, also, but it has that vibe. If it's not, it is. It has that feeling to it. It is Ghost Ship. This is a absolute great movie. Again, it's like in the House on Haunted Hill. It's the exact same, like I think like the exact same studio. I want to say it's called Dark Castle. Produced this. This is another movie that has a lot of good. Juliana Margulies is in here. Desmond Harrington's in here. Isaiah Washington, Gabriel Byrne. It's a really good movie. I like this movie a lot. Robert Zemeckis is involved in this. Joe Silver as like producers. But it's a really good movie. Super creepy. Another kind of ghost movie. It's like House on Haunted Hill, except it's on a ship. So ghosts come in, they're killing the humans, and you're trapped on the ship, and the ship is haunted, and it's good. As finders keepers, an abandoned ship floating in the international waters can be claimed and towed to port by whoever is fortunate enough to find it, or in this case, one team of salvage experts. Unfortunate enough. Wah, wah, wah. So there you go. So the ship might be carrying some booty, but you might lose your booty trying to capture the booty. That sucks. And again, another Dark Castle film. So this is like 3 for 3, and all 3 of these movies are fantastic. And this also is a William Castle joint for the 1950s. This has a bunch of I don't use the word famous in quotes. Tony Shalhoub, M. Beth Davis, Matthew Lillard, Shannon Elizabeth, F. Murray Abraham. It is 13 Ghosts. This movie is super intense. It's an absolute great movie, super intense. The ghost makeup and special effects for the ghosts are some of the best I've ever seen. They look fantastic. It looks so real. I would assume the Blu-ray looks fantastic. And this, of course, is DVD. It says Misery Loves Company. It's a glass house that they're trapped in, and essentially the house is like a doorway to hell, and it's been locked a certain way. But once you unlock it or you move the dial or whatever to unleash all these ghosts that open up the cages for the ghosts that are locked in there. And there's like dozens of, I guess there's 13 ghosts. There you go. And each one is more deadly than the other. And there's all kinds of ghosts in there. And they start attacking, of course, the humans that are in there, because again, the house is left as an eccentric billionaire or millionaire who leaves his house to his like unwilling brother or nephew and his family who think they hit the pay dirt, but they come to find out that he put them in there on purpose because he has that like human blood sacrifice for these ghosts so he can have immortality or whatever. I haven't seen it in a while, but that's a Cliff Notes version of it. The ghosts are absolutely super scary. You can see the back there a little bit of the ghost. It is really a good movie. I highly recommend that movie if you've not seen it. Next up is Stephen King's Pet Sematary. Another movie I don't know if I can watch anymore because of the death of young children. These kids are, of course, much younger than my son, but it's just very it's hard to watch, I think, nowadays. And I mean, it is what it is. I'm not for sure. It's a special collector's edition, so I may watch it with a commentary just so I can see, hear what they have to say. There's a couple other featurettes in here. Stephen King, there's Stephen King is doing some conversation talking about the movie / the book. This came out, I believe, in 1989. And in 1989, I was 11, 12 years old. So this was like a movie that I loved watching when I was a kid because it was like felt so, real. Because this was like, ghost things that go bump in the night, except only really. It was pretty scary stuff. Everybody's probably seen this movie at some point. If not, you may not even be an American. Is Gremlins. Steven Spielberg presents. This is a Joe Dante flick. You got Zach Galligan, Phoebe Cates. I mean, fantastic. I mean, Gremlins is awesome. I mean, there's not really much I can say about Gremlins. It is a holiday classic, but not Halloween, Christmas holiday classic. A lot of people don't think about that being a Christmas movie, but it is indeed a Christmas movie. Next up is I Know What You Did Last Summer and When a Stranger Calls. I Know What You Did Last Summer was a 90s, I believe late 90s, pretty big popular movie. When a Stranger Calls came out probably like 2004. That also was a remake from the 1970s. They had Carol Kane as the star from like 78 or 76 or whenever that movie first came out. This movie, When the Stranger Calls, absolutely blows. I saw it in the theater. I remember thinking, this is awful. I Know What You Did Last Summer had lots of, famous hot stars from the 90s. You had Jennifer Love Hewitt in it, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr., Johnny Galecki, Ryan Phillippe. So, I mean, that's a lot of the big names in there. Bridget Wilson was in it. So, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty popular – it had, like, a bunch of stars in it. It was a ripoff of Scream. I mean, that's essentially what it was. It was a ripoff of Scream. If you like Scream, you probably would have liked this. It was essentially the exact same movie. Just a bunch of beautiful young people in the movie being killed by a faceless, scary killer. Next up is Vin Diesel's Riddick. This is, I believe, a part 2 to Pitch Black. I've never seen Pitch Black, nor have I seen Riddick. I'm not a big Vin Diesel fan. I just feel like he has like the charisma of a three-toed sloth. Not very impressed usually by Vin Diesel. Again, the reason why he's done such a good job playing Groot is because he just has to say, "I am Groot," and which that he was made for that role. I mean, I'm sure he makes multi-million dollars to say that 10 different ways in a movie, and they try to put it over like it's the best thing ever. Like, no, other people can't do that. Whatever, I can do a deep voice. I am Groot. See, I could be a millionaire just like that. Next up is a movie. This is the D's nuts. What up, Larry? So next movie up is a movie that I need to revisit. I think there is a what's the word I'm looking for? I think there is a director's cut or unrated version. I saw this movie in the theater, and I remember thinking like, man, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. And I remember like most people walked out of the theater thinking the biggest thing they got out of it was you saw a blue penis. Was The Watchmen? You saw like a superhero penis, like the dudes walk around naked in the movie, like I don't know the third of his scenes. He like I don't maybe not that much, but he in a lot of the movie he's just walking around with his Johnson flopping around. Of course, it's all like CGI or whatever, but it was I think it's his name is like something Manhattan, like Doctor Manhattan or something. I could be wrong. This is based off of I think it's a comic book or a graphic novel. There's a lot of cool characters in it, lots of cool action. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong or whatever, they live in a world where superheroes were like a thing in like the 50s or the 40s, and they were loved and idolized, and then they fell out of favor because of them being they had real human problems. They got caught doing things they're not supposed to do, or people just turned their back on them and felt like they didn't need them anymore. Well, then of course, like fast forward 50 years later, it's like awful and people are being killed and there's some kind of villains or people out trying to, take advantage of, innocent people. Well, now they're being called upon again to like fight and save Earth or save humanity. And some of them are less interested in doing that than others. And, they're no longer, they're like out of shape or old, or they're like, they're not the same way they were 40 years before. So, even though they're not like grandpas and grandmas, they're like, I guess they age differently. They're not spry young whippersnappers they used to be. So if you ever seen the TV show on Amazon called The Boys, it feels like a lot like that because again, I don't remember this 100%, but The Boys is like all the superheroes, most of them at least at this point are all like scumbags, and they just use being a superhero to their advantage. But in real life, they're like the most terrible people in the world. But you wouldn't know that because they're protected by an agency that says they're just out there just doing the American way. They're there to protect and serve. But behind closed doors, they're like the worst of the worst. But you would never know that because they're protected, like I said. So kind of has that vibe. But this came out way before The Boys. But I think they took some ideas from that. Next up is the American version of The Grudge, which in Japanese is called Ju-on. And again, it's kind of like, it has that vibe, kind of like The Ring. It has like a scary, pale-faced girl. I think this one might be more Japanese. Like the American Ring, it was all Americans at the time. But this is more of a, because this is the actual director's Japanese, Shimizu, who directed this, who he also directed the original Ju-on in Japan. He uses the Japanese actors or actresses that were in this as the bad guys or ghosts or whatnot, antagonists, I guess. And it's the long black hair, pasty, ghostly features as they shake and edited coming towards you and all that kind of stuff. And Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Bill Pullman's in there. I think she plays his dad, I think. I can't remember. But anyways, it's actually pretty good. I liked it. It was all right. It wasn't great, but here's Larry's favorite movie. He actually told me before, if you find this movie, I want it because I need it for my collection. Because he's a real softie. He's a real a lover of all things romantic comedies. Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, starring Matthew McConaughey and Jennifer Gardner. Larry is a huge fan of this movie. He told me if you ever see it, especially if you can get it with the widescreen and full screen editions, and he's all about that life. So I picked this up, never seen it, probably never will see it, but I got it for Larry because that's his jam. Next up, this is a very 1980s feel of a movie. You can tell J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg were trying to channel like 1984 for sure. It has kind of like a E.T. and what's the Close Encounters of a Third Kind vibe with Super 8. Definitely a good movie. It's a really good movie. I love it, but it has a very much vibe of the 1980s, and again of third was it Close Encounters of a Third Kind vibe, and a really good movie. I love this movie. This is actually a fantastic movie. Yeah, 13 going on 30. I'll give you that. I like that. This actually is a movie called The Fault in Our Stars. The writer of the book is from actually Indiana. It's based on a true. It's based off of a book that was written by I want to say his last name is Green. Yeah, John Green, a best-selling novel by John Green. And I don't know much about it, but I'm sure it looks like it's a really super sad movie, so I probably don't want to watch it because I don't want to sit around and cry. I'm not a big fan of crying. Next up is a movie that I believe stars. Who's in this? I'm not sure. Gary Oldman's in this. I don't remember that. Okay, I don't know. None of these people were. So basically, the guy who directed Blade 2, David Goyer. Did he know he didn't do Blade 2? He did Blade 3. He did. He did lots of superhero movies. He was the writer in them, and then he also directed some. David S. Goyer directed this. Apparently, this is The Unborn. It looks like it'd be garbage. Gary Oldman's in it. That's probably the only saving grace in the movie. But Gary Oldman's in it. But even though Gary Oldman, he probably can't save it either. Don't know much about it, so I can't talk about it. Yeah, Fault of the Stars. I don't know much about it here. Yeah, exactly. I don't like watching sad movies anymore. Talk about a movie that's definitely not sad and probably makes you want to give you a little laughy laugh. Is A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas. Never seen it, but if you all know anything about their like other movies, it definitely has nothing but shenanigans and comedy in it. Definitely a lot different than the Cry Fest that you can find yourself in watching some of these other movies. You have I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but yeah, Danny Trejo apparently plays like a priest or somebody in there. Look, he has. Or maybe not. I don't know what he's supposed to be. He's actually wearing like a Christmas sweater. So maybe I thought it was a priest, but that's not true. Next up is another movie that is a movie I'm sure that Larry loves, and it's a movie that based off the book that he read and fell in love with as a young man going through backpacking in Europe. Is Eat, Pray, Love with Julia Roberts. So again, it's pretty serious when you got Julia Roberts putting a spoon in her mouth as the picture for the movie. It's like she's just taking one for the she has no care in the world. She's like, this life's great. It's just wonderful. Garbage. One of the best 3D movies of all time. You haven't watched it in 3D. Oh, I haven't watched it. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Next one up, I haven't seen it 3D, but I'll give it a shot eventually. Apollo 18. I've heard good things about this movie from a friend of mine. He's a big sci-fi guy. He's a big fan of like fantasy in that way. So I'll give it a shot. He loves this type of stuff. Anything involving like aliens and science fiction, he's a big fan of. Next up is the remake from a 1960s movie, The Stepford Wives, with Nicole Kidman. I've never seen this movie before, but when I looked at the cast, I was like, I don't know, maybe it's worth a look. You got Matthew Broderick, Bette Midler, Christopher Walken, Faith Hill's in here, Glenn Close, Frank Oz, who did the puppetry for like Yoda, Frank Oz fame, and I think he also did puppetry for Jim Henson. So the Stepford Wives, I don't know. Like I said, it looks like it could be complete garbage. But for all the people who had to shake your moneymaker and you wanted to get some of that Latino heat, take the lead with Antonio Banderas. Woo! There you go. He put the X in Latinx right there, baby. Take the lead. I mean, look at that back right there. Hot tamale right there. Check that out. He is teaching all kind of women folk how to dance. You know, first you saw him in Desperado and he blew people away. Then you saw him in Expendables as a jumping around, flying around mercenary. Now he's taking the lead and showing all these white women how to dance. Antonio Banderas. All right. Talking about white women, we got Penelope with Christina Ricci. Now, this is based off of a book, if I'm not mistaken. Christina Ricci, the girl has a pig nose, but she's it's one of those, like, she has a heart of gold. She's beautiful on the inside, even though the outside is questionable. So, if you see her without her little pig nose, you think, oh, she's so cute. But then if you take a look there, she has her little pig nose. But you got James McAvoy in here, Catherine O'Hara, and Reese Witherspoon. So this is a great cast, actually. Christina Ricci's a fantastic actress. I love Christina Ricci. James McAvoy, X-Men fame, Professor X. Catherine O'Hara, Beetlejuice. I mean, she like all the Christopher Guest movies. And Reese Witherspoon. Whatever, Reese Witherspoon. Next up, Anchorman 2. The legend continues. Again, I'm not saying anything that people don't already know about this. Either you like it or you don't like it. Ron Burgundy. I'm like one of those, like, take it or leave it. It has some funny moments. I don't think it's as funny as people had made it out to be back in the olden days. I think a lot of people like really thought it was like the most hilarious movies ever, especially the first one. And I'm like, it was all right. I mean, it was funny, but I wasn't like, it broke the mold. Next up is, I can honestly say I've never seen this guy's comedy. I've never seen his stand-up. I always feel like he's kind of like a douchebag. Maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like he's like a nobody in my mind. And that's all that matters is Dane Cook. Vicious Circle, a stand-up comedy event of HBO. He kind of became like a actor as well, like a comedic actor, I think, in some movies. But I just was like, man, but anyways, I'm not a big fan of Dane Cook. Never thought so. I mean, like, a lot of people put him over for the longest time. Man. Next up, one I did like was Hall Pass with Owen Wilson and Jason Sudeikis, I think. Jenna Fisher's in this. She's great. Richard Jenkins. Christina Applegate. It's a great cast. Really, the Farley brothers did it, so that's probably why I like it so much. The Farley brothers, I believe, are also the ones who did like Dumb and Dumber. I think they also did Kingpin. And Waiting. Yeah, Waiting is actually pretty good. But I mean, again, The Waiting really wasn't his movie. He was in the movie, but it really wasn't, thing he did. He didn't do anything, I think, that wasn't like carried by him. So, anyways, so Hall Pass, I really enjoyed Hall Pass with Owen Wilson and Jason Sudeikis. Sorry. Another movie that I haven't seen in a long time. I saw when it first came out. I remember thinking like, it's all right. It's all right. Was Sucker Punch. It felt like it was kind of like they just did like they kind of mixed like 300 with Sin City and came up with this movie. It was like, let's do a movie where 300 and Sin City mix it all up and it's all chicks and they're all just going around blasting everybody away. I kind of felt like, nah. And I don't really remember how good or not good this movie is. I just remember thinking like, I saw it. I can say I saw it. There's that. All right, man. See you later, Larry. Next up is Jumper. Hayden Christensen movie. The only movie I think he ever was in outside of playing Anakin Skywalker. No, that's not true. He did a movie called The Shipping News, I think, also, or something to do with like the newspaper. I don't know. He did some other movie. But anyways, yeah, it could have been better. Yeah, the girls were good looking. That's true. The girls were good looking. But Jumper, I haven't seen it, but I've heard Samuel L. Jackson on this. All right. Who else is in here? Michael Rooker's in this. Diane Lane. Jamie Bell. Rachel Bilson. So there's quite a few people in here. So it might be worth giving it a look. Yeah, I'm about to give this one a look because there's actually quite a few people in this movie that I did not know about. Next up is a movie I've never even heard of. The only actor I ever heard of this is like some kind of zombie apocalyptic movie. Is Alan Ruck from Ferris Bueller's Day Off fame. Carnage Park. This is a slipcover, so it comes with a slipcover. IFC Films, but it looks like it's some sort of. It says a brutal masterpiece of tension and terror. So I guess there's shocking crime. So there might, I thought it was like some kind of apocalyptic horror movie, but maybe not. It's a deranged ex-military sniper. There you go. Don't know. Yeah, First Kill. That's right. I forgot about that with Bruce Willis. Yeah, Carnage Park. Don't know much about it. Then this is a good one. I love this series. They stole. I mean, like it's the Matrix, but with vampires and werewolves. It's called Underworld. They're super hot. Kate Beckinsale. Her husband is the director. I don't know. I think he only directed maybe the first two movies, and then I think he stopped directing them. So maybe yeah. So the first two, her husband's the director of the movies. Kate Beckinsale's fantastic, awesome. I love her in this. Selene, the vampire like hunter. She hunts. No, she doesn't have she hunts the werewolves. And it's a good movie. I really like it a lot, man. I like it a lot. I know a lot of people just kind of like it's again, it's like the Matrix. It's like a Matrix ripoff, except they're just instead of it being like Neo, it's Selene, and instead of being like 1,000 Mr. Smiths, it's 1,000 werewolves with a love story mixed in. Oh yeah, Dollar Tree. I'm gonna check it out. Next up, Starship Troopers three movie set. All three movies are in here. Starship Troopers is a great film franchise. It's just so over the top ridiculous. Starship Troopers 2, Hero of the Federation, Starship Troopers 3, Marauder. Boom. You cannot go wrong with Starship Troopers. I feel like at this point, there's nothing I can really say about Starship Troopers that hasn't been said. The bugs are back. Prepare for attack. Boom. Then we got that Hangover. Again, a movie where, there's not really much you can say. Either you're a big fan of the series because of how ridiculous it is, or you're not. I like the Hangover movies. I think as they went on, of course they got weaker and they weren't as funny, but it's on some same stuff rehashed. But I liked it. Next up, I don't remember watching this. I think I've seen it before, but I don't remember. 30 Minutes or Less. I'm a big fan of Danny McBride, so I do like him a lot. Everybody else, I'm just kind of like, nah, whatever. I know that Aziz Ansari is pretty popular, or at least he was for a while. I'm not a big fan of Jesse Eisenberg, Nick Swardson, and Michael Pena. Man, Fred Ward, I like Fred Ward just fine. But yeah, I like Danny McBride. I think he's just so over the top ridiculous. I do enjoy his stuff. I do not really remember the movie. I'd have to watch it again to kind of remember. Next up, The Hunger Games. This is a 2-disc set with the slipcover. This is the widescreen edition, I believe, so that's good. I need to watch this again. Luca wants to watch it. He started watching it a couple years ago, and then it was just too intense for him. I think he wants to try and give it a shot again. I mean, of course, I understand because it's kids killing kids, which is definitely pretty intense stuff. So I think he's interested in checking that again, so we'll see. Next up is a movie that, it was like, it got supernova hot for a while. Bridesmaids Unrated. I remember watching it. I remember thinking kind of like Anchorman. I remember thinking yeah, it has funny parts. It's funny. It's a great cast of comedic, in this case, women. But again, it's once you've seen it one time, you're kind of like, okay, yeah. There's a lot of fart or poop jokes and stuff, and I think they thought that was real edgy because it was women and not men doing it. They're like, cause she, Krista McCarthy or whatever her name is, I can't remember her real name. Melissa McCarthy was doing some real legit potty humor, and I think they were just it's women who who say things that only men have said in the past. They're really risk takers. And I'm like, it's no more risky than a man saying it. I don't get it. It's okay. I mean, it can be funny. There's funny parts in it. I don't really see like the hype that was surrounding it. 21 Jump Street, actually pretty funny. You have Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. Sorry. Actually pretty funny. Again, this is actually a movie I had zero expectations going into, based off the 1980s TV show starring Johnny Depp. Little known fact, Johnny Depp shows up in this. You wouldn't even, as in a cameo performance, which is pretty hilarious. If Ice Cube's in here, it has a lot of funny moments in it. Again, I mean, it's funny. I mean, I was laughing, just like I was laughing when I was watching Bridesmaids or whatever, but it's all right. Everybody's favorite movie right here, Pitch Perfect, for anybody who loves watching musicals and music comedies and stuff. It has you know, a bunch of lady folk singing and like a acapella contest. And again, there's some funny stuff in it. There's some hilarious things in there. Rebel Wilson, she's absolutely hilarious in this. Again, I think this would not be as good if it wasn't for her. She's definitely the star of that, I think. And then the last one I have before I get to the ones I'm keeping, which is just a small stack, is Superbad with the slipcover. And again, this is a pretty funny one. This is one of Seth Rogen's first. I think it's Seth Rogen. Isn't it Seth Rogen? Isn't he? That's him, I think, right? Yeah, it's one of his first movies. You have Jonah Hill. I think it's one of his first movies. Jesse Eisenberg. All these guys is like they're real young at the time. They're like literally, I feel like they're late teens, early 20s. They have that look to them. Pretty hilarious. I mean, definitely feels like a high school movie. I think kids that are 15 to 18 would definitely. Again, I watched it when I was in my mid 20s, so a little bit of it passed me because I've already passed that time. But if you catch this movie at the right time, kind of like Breakfast Club when I was growing up, it really hits you in a way you're like, can relate to it majorly. And I mean, the shenanigans are hilarious that they get themselves into, cracks you up, definitely. And then lastly are just the movies I'm keeping. These are all Blu-rays that I want to keep. I didn't even know they were even going to be in the free bag of goodies. First up is In the Heart of the Sea. Right here, this is Herman Melville, Moby Dick, basically. Moby Dick right here. You have Chris Hemsworth in here. You also have Tom Holland. So you have Thor and Spider-Man in here. Actually, you have Scarecrow because you have Cillian Murphy in here as well. So this is a Ron Howard joint. So this is a cool one to have. I watched this one time 4 or 5 years ago. And it's a slow burn, but I thought it was really good. It was really a well-done movie. Next up is Tears of the Sun with Bruce Willis and Monica Bellucci by Antoine Fuqua. It's a good movie. I really like this movie a lot. It's a pretty hard movie to watch. There's some really sad stuff that happens in it. But I had this on DVD, but I did not have the Blu-ray, so that's added to the collection. Next up is a movie I've never seen before, but I've heard a lot of good things about it because of the all-star cast. American Hustle. Do the hustle. So American Hustle. You got Christian Bale, Bradley Cooper, Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Jennifer Lawrence. So there you go. It's a very popular movie. I've heard 10 Academy Award nominations for best picture. But you have, I want to see this. I want to check it out. It looks like it's pretty interesting. Next up is a triple feature Blu-ray of V for Vendetta, which is absolute garbage movie. I can't stand that. The Watchmen, which we've talked about this, but this is the director's cut Blu-ray, and then Constantine, which I absolutely love. So all three of these are like comic book or what do you want to call them? Like graphic novels. I've never seen this director's cut version, so I want to check this out. I absolutely hate this movie. I mean, like literally, if I could take the DVD out or the Blu-ray, I'd just throw it outside and let like a raccoon piss on it. And then Constantine, I love Constantine. I never had it on Blu-ray, so I'm definitely excited about that. I don't think there's probably a lot of special features on these discs. But yeah, so I'm pumped about that. Okay, cool. I'm glad you like Joe American Hustle. Let me go where that goes here. Next up is a movie I've had on DVD and I still have, but I never had on Blu-ray. But this is a special collector's 10th anniversary edition of Fight Club, which I saw this in the theater with Luca's mom, and I had my best friend growing up, Lark, and all three of us wanted to go see this movie. Man, I got posters of this hanging up in my house the first time I saw it, you know, going on 20 years ago. I mean, like, I had posters of it. I had, like, it was just, like, my life. It was, like, a movie that hit me the right time. It came out, like, 99, 2000, 2001. I don't know, like, but I was, like, right out of college. It hit me right in the feels. I mean, it was just like, man, like, this is speaking to me, my generation. Absolutely love the movie. It was such a mind melt at the time. I mean, now it kind of feels like cliche, and if you've seen it, you can kind of be like, okay, but when you watch this for the first time, you're like, dang. And definitely want to watch it because of all the special features in there. So yeah, Super Pump 10th anniversary. There you go. Boom. And the last one, I cannot believe this was sealed, never opened, and with a slipcover. I've seen it before, but I didn't have this version of it, and I just watched it like I rented it one time. It is A Quiet Place, starring John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, real life husband and wife. He is also the director. This is a 4K edition, never opened, along with the Blu-ray and a digital copy, apparently. But there you go, A Quiet Place. If you've not seen this movie, John Krasinski does a absolute banger of a job, man. I mean, it is awesome. Essentially, they lucked out. Their daughter is born deaf, and they cannot make sound. There are these creatures, these monsters that goes around killing people based on when they can hear you. They're blind. They cannot see you. I guess they can't smell you, but it's based off of being able to hear you. And once they hear you, they will, of course, kill you. And they run the world now, or whatever. Like, you don't really know because it pretty much takes place in and around their house. And like they travel like on a rail. They travel like down the road, or you know, from building to building. They always come back to their home base, where they can kind of have like the upper hand, so to speak. And man, I gotta do a review of this movie because it is, oh my gosh, it is so good and so heart wrenching. And anyways, and so they've like learned over the years how to survive, and the main way they can survive, because these things come out night, day, it doesn't matter. You know, there's nothing that stops them. They just always are hunting. And if they hear you, they, again, like I said, they'll kill you. So, but the family has an advantage because they all can talk because they use sign language, because their daughter was born deaf. And so they use, and all the sign language is real. It's all like, it's not like made up Hollywood. Like, you know, they all learn sign language to really like do the movie justice and do the deaf but deaf sign language justice. And I believe the actress is deaf in real life, which makes it even more authentic. They had to learn sign language so they could communicate with her. And it was awesome. She has a younger brother than her, and then the mom and dad. And again, this is awesome. I mean, there's sacrifice in here. There's terror. There's like feels extreme terror in this. It feels like it's foreboding, danger at every turn. It's just really a good movie. So I cannot recommend a movie more than a Quiet Place. I mean, even Rotten Tomatoes gave it its fresh, certified fresh. So fresh and so clean. All right, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed. Almost an hour and a half long. That was that many movies. I got all these for free at a doorstep pickup off of Facebook Marketplace. Somebody just posted, "Hey, I want to get rid of these DVDs." The first person mentions they want them. I come and get them. They can have them free. I sent them a message saying I'm interested, and a few minutes later they said you can come get it. And so I got all these movies like 50, 60 movies. Well, I don't know, maybe not that many, but close to it, all for free. All it took was a little bit of gas money, drove me around the corner, go pick them up about 15 minutes from my house, and picked them up, and I got all these movies for, like I said, one free. Not even one schmeckle was spent. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.